What's up, everybody? I'm going to do a classic rock reaction, a classic rock instrumental reaction. This one is called YYZ. It's by the Canadian band Rush, and this is live coming from Rio. Let's get it. They are rowdy as hell. They've probably been playing for some time, and they're all warmed up. Look at all those drums around that guy. Wow. Could you imagine the satisfaction of being an artist and seeing how people respond to your music in the crowd? And they're singing along. Oh man, that would give me such a rush. Guys, so good. They're all so good. Wow. What are they, in their mid to late 50s here? Some pretty ass girls in that crowd, boy. Drummer spectacular. They all run. This lead guitarist, he reminds me a lot of Jimmy Page. Not a flaw among them. Still this guy, man. Sings, he jams, plays the bass, keyboards. I love this crowd. How great a feeling to know that you're just loved the whole world over. masterful. See, man? That was masterful, man. See? That's what it's all about right there. You work so hard to hone your craft, to be a pro at what you do, and then you get respect and appreciation like that. Yo, that was masterful. Fantastic. I'm really impressed that the Rio crowd was just so behind them, so with it, you know, so in the groove with them, humming along, bouncing, skipping along, you know, a whole bunch of pretty ass girls in there. So it isn't just the young guys and the men, you know, it's just everybody, all forms of life in that place, just bouncing and grooving, man. That was beautiful. Yo, man. The Rush musicianship, it's just as good live as it is from a studio performance. They don't miss a beat. They're on point. They're on par. It's tight. Their groove is tight. When I was reacting to their Working Man reaction, that was probably the biggest word coming out, tripping off of my tongue. Man, that was tight. Their playing is in sync. And the word to describe these guys and the way that they play is just tight. And even live, that was fantastic, man. Same thing, same level of performance, same level of consistency, it seems, every single time. Yo, that was awesome. So first, a shout out to everybody who recommended this to me. It got to the point where you guys were like just bashing me on the head to do this. And even though you already know that I'm aware of YYZ and I'm aware of the drum solo, it didn't matter. It was like, well, I understand that a live performance, a lot of the times, is just never the same as a studio performance. So I get that, and I understood that it was very important for me to do this reaction to the YYZ in Rio. Definitely, everyone just kept bashing me over the head to do it. So here I am, and I'm glad that I'm doing it. Yeah, I understand why you wanted me to react to it, man, because, man, the crowd, you can go your entire life as a performer and hope to only encounter a crowd like that just once in your life. You know, that was magical. Anyway, enough of that. My point being is that Rush is just as good live as they are in the studio. And their musicianship is not compromised. The quality of it is just still tight. I really like that, man. Yeah, Canadian pride. They do their home country very proudly. I can understand why they were given the Order of Canada and all of those accolades, because they carry themselves well too. You know, I don't hear curse words coming from them. I don't see any rude gestures. They're just very, very good ambassadors, you know, representing whoever and wherever they're from. Yeah, these guys are class acts, man. So with Rush, what's happening with them is I have them categorized right now as one of 3 supergroups that I'm focused on, that I'm going through. Maybe not their entire catalog, but I want to really get myself familiar with a major body of their work. And so mostly for my Patreon, I'm going to be doing a lot of Rush reactions. I'm going to share some on YouTube and Vimeo as well, but most of the content for Rush will be on my Patreon. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ask you guys over the next couple of reactions, maybe the next week or two, if I should look into doing a Canadian series. I did the British Invasion series featuring those bands that were very influential and a part of the British Invasion, had the most success, had the most influence. My friend John describes Canadian musicians as buried treasure, meaning that a lot of them did not achieve a tremendous amount of international success outside of the borders of Canada. Rush is the exception, but Rush is on the list of one of those bands that I should explore more. But I want to put it to you, should I do a Canadian series? Is that something you would be interested in seeing? Like, for example, the other day I did a reaction to Wild Eyes by the Stampeders. And a lot of you in the comments were saying, holy cow, man, this is a great song. How come I've never heard of it? I've never heard of the Stampeders. You know, what else do they have? And that's a good question. What else do they have? I know, reading by their bio, that they've had a number of hits. So I got to do some research. What are those hits? How do they sound? How do they compare to Wild Eyes, which was excellent? And how do they compare to other great musicians and bands like Rush, for example? So I believe that it might be worth my while to look into the buried treasure in Canada and look at great Canadian rock bands. There's a number of them. So just like the British Invasion series, a spotlight on Canadian talent might actually go over very well, and I think that I'm very intrigued to do it. But let me know what you think, if it's something that you might find interesting. Okay, I'll wait for your response. Anyway, man, let me just give a little quick overview here of Rush, and I just want to get some background information on this tune YYZ. All right, so I'm just my Wikipedia song facts page is up. And okay, here we go. So Rush was a Canadian rock band comprising Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, and Neil Peart. Formed in 1968, the band went through several configurations until arriving at its longest and most popular lineup with Peart, when Peart replaced original drummer John Rhodesia in 1974. They had neglected to come up with a name for their group until John Rhodesia's older brother yelled, "You're always on the go. Why don't you call the band Rush?" Rush is known for its musicianship, complex compositions, eclectic lyrical motives, which draws heavily on science fiction, fantasy, and philosophy. The band's musical style has changed several times over the years, from a blues-inspired hard rock beginning, later moving into progressive rock. They're among the most proficient players on their respective instruments, with each band member winning numerous awards in magazine readers' polls. Several industry sources estimated Rush's total worldwide album sales at over 40 million units as of 2017. Well, man, it certainly reached Rio de Janeiro, let me tell you. Formation of the song, formation of the tune. YYZ, pronounced YYZ, is from their 1981 album, Moving Pictures. It is one of the band's most popular pieces and a staple of the band's live performances. The live album Exit Stage Left and the concert video recording A Show of Hands both include versions in which Neil Peart incorporates a drum solo as an interlude on the former and as a segue out of the piece on the latter. I'm going to make a comment about Neil Peart in a minute. I'm just going to read this. Title and composition. YYZ is the airport identification code of the Toronto Pearson International Airport near Rush's hometown. Every airport is assigned a unique three-letter code. The band was introduced to the rhythm as Alex Lifeson flew them into the airport. A VHF omnidirectional range system at the airport broadcast the YYZ identifier code in Morse code. Peart said in interviews later that the rhythm stuck with them. Peart and Geddy Lee have both said it's always a happy day when YYZ appears on our luggage tags. Awards nominations. YYZ was nominated for a Grammy in the Best Rock Instrumental category in 1982. It was runner-up to Behind My Camel by The Police from their album Zenyatta Mondatta. And song facts information. Geddy Lee's bass performance on this song has been praised as one of the best in rock history. Some fans believe his bass playing is better when he's not singing. That probably goes without saying for most musicians. YYZ was one of the few songs used on the PS2 game Guitar Hero 2. Geddy Lee told the Plain Dealer newspaper how the tune's use in video games has opened up a whole new fan base for Rush. And I quote, "It's interesting how that song's been reborn through video games like Guitar Hero and Rock Band. We're getting all these 11, 12, 13-year-old kids coming to our shows because they discovered our music through those games. And I think one of the big reasons is because of YYZ." All right, now. And that's the song fact information, Wikipedia information about Russian YYZ. Yeah, man, I was going to say about these guys, Rush. What's most impressive to me is their musicianship, the way that they are so synced together. I describe it as being intuitively linked. Just like I'll compare them to Led Zeppelin because they just seem to, kind of mirror their proficiency, their musicianship. So let's compare the two. I believe that Rush is on par, musician-wise, with Led Zeppelin. I believe that bar for bar, they are just as skilled, just as talented as Led Zeppelin. And I put them on the same level with their musicianship as Led Zeppelin. Now, I don't know a hell of a lot of their content yet, but from what I've seen enough, I think, to be able to come up with that, and I don't think that it's too ignorant of a point of view. All three of them are so proficient and skilled, and individually, and then put them together, they work off of each other so well, just like Led Zeppelin. So that's why I say that Rush, their musicianship, is next level, where they are intuitively linked to each other. They're such good contemporaries. They complement and complete each other so well. Like YYZ is the perfect example of that. Even in Working Man before, I know that Neil Peart was not in that lineup of that song, but I think just basically from the bones of construction, the structure of it, all put together, created a masterful piece of work. But with Neil Peart being at the helm of Rush, I understand that he's also credited as being the main writer for a lot of their content. So yeah, he is not only a masterful performer, but a really great intellect and songwriter. In comparing Neil Peart to John Bonham, you've got two fantastic drummers, and my understanding is that they're heralded in the top 5 of all drummers, that sort of thing in rock and roll. When I hear John Bonham play, and then I hear Neil Peart play, my impression is that, man, this is a masterful musician. and then I think of the same of the other. And when I compare the two, I see that they're both on par. They're both on par. Metaphorically, I'll give you an example. This is what I was thinking of when the song was playing. When I start to think, sometimes I forget to pause. So you'll notice that I forgot to pause. This is what I was thinking of. When I compare Neil Peart to John Bonham, I metaphorically think of two fighters. Two fighters who are tasked with delivering a serious ass whooping, right? John Bonham has his way of approaching it, and he can do it with class and style, but he can be thunderous. And I think that you are going to suffer a thunderous ass whooping at the hands of John Bonham, right? He isn't going to mix it up too much, even though he can, but he will just basically drop the thunder on your ass. Serious ass whooping. Neil Peart, you are going to suffer just as serious as an ass whooping from Neil Peart. However, he will go about doing it in probably just a little bit more of a technical way, a more methodical way. But at the end of the day, the conclusion is the same from both fighters, from both drummers. You have just suffered a serious ass whooping at the hands of both of them, but done in maybe slightly different ways. They're both just as proficient, both just as skilled, both just as great, but they go about it in certain different ways that's uniquely them. That's how I see John Bonham and Neil Peart. And you can't force me to decide which one is better. The better fighter, the better drummer. You can't force me to decide which one. I could maybe say, well, I like this person's style maybe a little bit more, but it doesn't make him better than the other. You know what I mean? So that's where I am, where I'm comparing the two bands, and specifically the two drummers. That's how I see Neil Peart. Definitely on par with John Bonham. I imagine a couple of you are probably screaming at me through the screen right now. Sorry, I'm keeping it 100 with you. Yeah, man, masterful piece of work. And I really look forward to getting to know Rush more, but I really look forward to getting to expand my horizons on Canadian bands more as well. If there isn't a lot of interest from you guys in respect to me doing some a Canadian series, I'll decide to do like maybe some individual reactions stretched over a period of time, that sort of thing, instead of a concentrated grouping like a series like the British Invasion. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to delving into a lot more of their work. And speaking of their work, man, what's next for Rush? What should I react to next? There is a whole host of songs and albums, and I don't want to go all over the place. With Led Zeppelin, I'm going from one album to the next, starting from the beginning. I don't know, I might not do that with Rush. The only difference between the two is that Led Zeppelin has covered a whole bunch of blues tracks and remakes that I'm finding to be very familiar, taking me all the way back to my childhood years when my dad used to play all of those things. So it's a nostalgic trip for me, and I don't want to miss a single thing. But I don't have to stick from starting from the beginning to the next with the three supergroups that I'm doing: Rush, Pink Floyd, and then Zeppelin. Zeppelin's the only one where I'm starting from the very beginning, so I don't miss anything. But with Rush, I'm a little bit more flexible to bounce around. Like, for example, from the first album, Working Man, to YYZ. So it's bouncing a few albums. So let me know what to react to next. what you find as being their best pieces of work that you'd recommend, and I'll definitely look into it, because I really like these guys. I'm definitely a fan, man, and especially since that video footage from Rio, that was masterful. The only thing that I wish that I got a little bit more of was a drum roll from Neil Peart. It doesn't even have to be as long as the 12-minute version of the typical album, but even if it was a 5-minute thing, yeah, I was hoping that there would have been a little bit of a drum roll in there, but hey, you know, all the same. Barring that, it was just masterful, and I'm really glad that you guys recommended it to me, so thanks for that. Anyway, man, I'm gonna bounce, so thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Let me know what your recommendations are, and I'll be sure to be quick about it and get to those reactions as soon as I can. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.